Chapter 13, Air. Alright, we are about to begin our 13th chapter for science, and we will be learning all about air. It's a very short and simple chapter, so we're going to learn about this whole chapter in one lesson because it's easy. Let's just look at the things that we will be learning. We're going to learn where can we find air? Why is air important? What are the uses of air? So how do we use air? And what makes air move? These are the things we are going to find out about in this lesson. Alright, air is all around us. Where can we find air? Air is everywhere. It is all around us. It surrounds things on the earth and fills up spaces. Okay. We cannot see air, but there are ways to tell that it exists. So there are ways to tell that there is air around us. How can we tell that? We can feel air when it is moving. We can also see things move when air blows them. Okay, let's have a look at the examples. The air gently pushes against the cloth when it blows. You can see the cloth blowing in the wind. We can see that there is air moving the cloth. Also, the grass moves from side to side when the air blows over it. Obviously, the grass needs to be quite long. Okay. Air is inside the plastic bag. So air fills that space inside and lifts the air into the sky. Air fills up the balloons, takes up space inside the balloon, and we can feel air moving when it blows past our body. The importance of air and the uses. Okay, that's the heading. How is air important and useful? So how do we use it? Air is important to all living things. Living things need air to live. As simple as that, all living things need air to survive. So we look at the two examples of how living things need air. Number one, we need it to keep alive. Fish use air in the water to stay alive, just as humans use air around us to stay alive. Trees or plants also need air to make food. We use air to help us do many things in our daily lives, so it also helps us. It keeps us alive and it helps us with these examples. How do we use air? We use air to fill things up. For example, our bicycle tires. We pump air into a rubber tire so that it stays firm. Firm means hard. It stays hard and can roll easily. Without air in the tire, the bicycle cannot work properly. So that's one way of how we use air. Another way of how we use air is to keep fire burning. Charcoal, which is this that you see, charcoal needs air to burn. We can fan the burning charcoal for it to get more air to burn. Alright? And the third way is it helps things float. Air can help things to float on water. A swimming tube can help us to float on water when it is filled with air. Here's a tube. These are the three ways that we use air. Okay, now we're going to learn about air that moves. What causes air to move? Well, let's first find out what is moving air called. Wind. Moving air is called wind. So, the movement of air is caused by warm and cold air moving from one place to another. The warm air rises and the cold air takes the place of that warm air. So as warm air rises, the cold air flows to take up its place. That is what causes wind. The sun warms up our earth and causes the air around it to become warmer. Some places on the earth receive or have more sunlight and are warmer than other places. As a result, the air in some places is warm and in some places it is cold. I definitely think that Vietnam is one of the places that receives more sunlight. How can wind be useful? Wind can move things from one place to another. Here is an example of a boy flying a kite. The wind carries the kite high up into the sky. And for a sailboat, wind is very useful. The wind pushes the sailboat in whichever direction the boat is steering. So these are two ways that wind can be useful. Let's recap on the chapter, because that is the whole chapter done and dusted. We look at three important parts of air. Where can we find it? Why is it important or useful? And we learn about how air moves. That is all that we need to know. So let's have a look at these pictures that I've drawn to help us remember what we have just read through in the textbook. So where can we find air? Air is everywhere. It is all around us. There are three ways to find air. One, we can see it move things. We cannot see air, but we can see that it moves things like a cloth stuck in a tree. We can feel air when it moves. We can feel it on our skin. And air fills up balloons. We can see air filling up a balloon. These are three ways to find air. Why is air important or useful? It keeps fish alive underwater because fish use air underwater. And it keeps humans alive because we need air to breathe. It is also important because it helps plants make food. It helps things to float. It also helps to keep fire burning. Fire and charcoal need air to keep burning. And lastly, why is it useful? It fills up the tires that we use on our bicycle or on our motorbikes, and because it is hard and filled with air, it rolls easily. And lastly, we learned about how air moves. The movement of air is called wind, and we know that wind is created by hot air rising and cool air that flows to take up its space. That's what causes wind. And what does wind do? Wind can move things from one place to another. As shown with this kite, it is moved up high into the sky, or in the sailboat, it makes the sailboat move from one place to another place. So these are all the important facts from our chapter 13, all about air. And now I will scan the self-help at the end of the textbook, and I would like you to please answer those questions for homework.